Hello everyone. So today I'm going to continue to work on my adult themed dollhouse. So my plan of action is to create the till area. Now, if you're new to the channel, this project is an adult themed dollhouse. The downstairs is going to be an adult shop, a sex shop, and the upstairs is going to be a working brothel, very possibly with a strip bar up there. But for today, I am going to be working on my till. Now, originally, this was the shape which I designed when I designed my cabinets. However, I feel like it is very large and it does take up a lot of floor space. And plus, with my cabinets being so angular, I wanted something that's a lot softer. So I'm no longer going to be using this. And so what I'm going to do is we're going to flip over to my design, which I've already cut out on some mat board, and we'll take it from there. Okay, so today we're going to be working on a till area for my adult store. Now, originally, when I was designing my units for the shop, I went with this shape because it's got the same angles as what the units did. And I was thinking a large till area so that we could have somewhere for the till, the computer, the card machine, a gift wrapping area, and to have those general last minute random purchases that you would find around a till. But when it's in there, when the cabinets are in place, it really does take up a lot of floor space. And I know that I want to add things like sale bins and, maybe like a little couch and so on. It's like a little, catalog looking area or something. And so I really need to save as much space as I can when making this till area. So the other day I was at work on Procreate on my iPad and I was trying to come up with shapes for the till area because I want to have the till area, the curvature, and an area for wrapping, gift wrapping. And so this is what I came up with. Yes, it is very suggestive, but it is an adult shop, so that is perfectly fine. You won't really notice the shape of it so much whilst it's in place because of the angle, and it's going to have loads of things on top. But my ideas were, to have, say this is my till area, and I'm going to be using this miniature Apple Mac which I got on one of my Temu hauls. You can find that video in my playlist. And so I was thinking my till area here, and then we could have a card machine, and then here I'm thinking a large jar. Now I know that I want to add some protection in there, but instead of having boxes, I thought a jar with individual protection would be a fun thing to have displayed on there. And then this area here is going to be for gift wrapping. Now from the front it is going to look something like this, hopefully. So see, when you look at it directly, you won't really notice how suggestive the pattern is. But my plan is to have some open shelving in all of the colours that are going to match the unit. So with that champagne gold and the glittery black. So for me to get this, what I did was I used Procreate and then I transferred that information onto my Cricut, and I've cut this out of 1.5mm mat board, and then I use the inset option so that I can have a slightly smaller shape inside there as well, just so that I've got somewhere for me to put the material against. Thinking about it, that's not quite going to work now looking at this, as I want to have the front open. Yeah, so like I said, this is all a learning curve. I've not made this yet, so I'm gonna have to no doubt change some stuff as we go along. So let's just get started. Okay, so the first thing for me to do was to paint all of the edges with a gold Sharpie and with a black alcohol marker. This is just to hide all of those edges so that when I come to layer up my pieces, none of that whiteboard shows through. All the way through this project, I had to do so much colouring in of every single piece of paper which I use. It was quite a lot. My gold Sharpie did run out at some point, so I did have to change it for a Posca pen, which wasn't quite the same sort of gold, but it definitely saved me in a pinch. To decorate this table, I'm using the same champagne gold vinyl and the black glitter paper which I've used for the units inside the sex shop. So I just had to stick my pieces down, and then I used my craft knife with a brand new blade, and because of the curvature of the shapes, I just twisted the shape around and let my blade do the work. Once I put everything down, I do like to use my brayer just to make sure that everything has a really nice even contact. Some of the pieces I doubled up for stability. The countertop itself is a double layer, so that gave me 3mm, and that's the same for the base. And then for the gold base shelf, that is also doubled up to 3mm. For the gold piece underneath the countertop, that is just a singular layer at 1.5mm. For me to create the backing and the side piece of the counter, I'm using some 1mm mat board. I then drew some markings at 1/4 of an inch along the length of the mat board. I then used the back of my craft knife to gently score in some lines to make it easier for me to manipulate the mat board into the curvature that I needed it to be. I also used my glue container just to help me get that softer curve. At this point, I had no idea still how this was going to turn out. So for this curved piece, I'm just pressing it against it, trying to figure out exactly how I'm going to put this thing together. I really do love this Alien's quick dry tacky glue. This is a really awkward shape to glue into place, and obviously with editing it is cut out a massive amount of time because it did take quite a while, but this glue definitely helped speed up that process. Now where I cut this board here, this later on comes to bite me in the butt. I should have figured that I would want it to be longer coming around the edge. I do fix it at the end, but because where I cut it, it falls a little bit short on that curve, and like I say, it does come to bite me later on, but I do fix it. It was at this very moment when I put this piece on the side that my brain understood exactly how I was going to create the till area for my till accessories on the back side of the till where the cashier will stand, and separate that from the shelves at the front of the structure. Again, I'm having to edge out all of my edges with a black marker. For me to decorate this curved piece, I have this giant roll of sticky back tape, and I essentially just made a huge sticker with my black glitter card. To save me clearing up any wet glue off of the glitter card and the vinyl, going forward I make all of my pieces into stickers. Now I'm gluing in my base shelf and the top part that sits underneath the counter. Having these in place then gives me something to press the wall into place, which separates the front and the back shelves. Now, I absolutely love this quick dry tacky glue, but I really do wish that its nozzle was just a little bit more of a finer point, because it really does kick out some glue. Then, using the exact same process, I finished off the side wall, the inside of that wall, and the outer back wall. Now that everything is covered, I can start looking at my edges. For the base gold shelf, I could say 3mm strip of the gold vinyl, a 1.5mm strip for the top shelf that sits underneath the counter, and again 3mm strips in the black card to go around the trim of the top and the bottom of the cabinet. Now it's time for me to start fitting my shelves. So I'm using the B7000 glue, which isn't the best glue for this. It really does create quite a bit of mess if you don't get it absolutely bob on the first time when you're applying your pieces together. I cut some mat board at 1 inch high to give me a dollhouse scale 12 inches between my shelves, and it was at this point that I realized that the curve on the end and where I cut my side piece short earlier was going to create some issues for me. So this side is really ugly. Because I cut it short, I can't get it to curve around the shelves themselves, nor can I get it to stick at the edges. And where the glue has been, where I made a really bad job of keeping it in place, it's just left an awful mess. So what I need to do is extend the corner to come around, and I also need to hide where I try to fit some inserts in between the shelves. So for me to extend this around, I'm using some mat board. This is black on one side, white on the other, and I'm using that same process that I used where I cut in at 1/4 of an inch increments for me to create the curve. I do end up using glitter card again to cover it, and I'm looking at this as maybe I could turn this into a door possibly, because we do have a really ugly seam on the side. So I'm thinking maybe if I put a handle on it, I can maybe put in some gold hinges just to try and disguise it a little bit, and hopefully then it won't look like so much of an afterthought. If ever I had to rebuild or redesign this counter, the one thing that I would change in the design is where I cut off that cardboard too short, and I would carry it around to the front and have it exactly how it is now. I feel like the end product is really beautiful, and having, although I have lost some shelf space, having it come around the front like that, I feel like it just meets perfectly. To glue this piece into place, I use a combination of tacky glue and hot glue. I use both these glues because glue doesn't stick very well to the metallic finish of the vinyl, and I also wanted to use the hot glue so that it will give me an instant stick. So hopefully the two of them together should give me a secure bond. Now that that was in place, I now need to close off that space. So I'm using some 1 inch high mat board, which is coated with glitter board on the other side, and I'm gluing that into place using hot glue. I needed something that would glue super fast. It's not the most ideal glue, again, because it creates a lot of mess, but it did give me that instant stick which I needed. Once all three pieces were in place, I then cut some thin strips of glitter card and I glued those in the 3 segments to hide where I had originally glued in some dividers. And now it is complete. So I'm really happy with how this turned out. I think it looks really beautiful. So as always, thank you for spending your time with me today. I'm going to leave you with some glam shots. I hope you have a fantastic day and I'll see you soon. Bye.